Ethan, I know when we were talking about understanding real estate as more than a transaction, that you gave me a little shout out about your broker and mentor, Gavin, and what he taught you. So, can you tell us a little bit about this also?
Yeah, so when I got into real estate, I'm fortunate because I literally have the best broker and mentor in the game, Gavin Christie. And he told me, especially when you're operating at this high level in the luxury space, the main thing that you want to focus on is cultivating relationships, and not just relationships from a client agent perspective, but think about relationships and creating relationships around the ecosystem of everybody that may need to service that. And I really took that to heart because I've been an entrepreneur going on 2 decades, but hearing him articulate that and really drilling that into me as somebody who I admired in the space, as somebody who is really where I want to be in the luxury space here in the Bahamas and globally, I really took that to heart. And so that has been something that, over my years in the business that I've been focusing on and not worrying so much about the deal, but focusing on really developing, nurturing, and building relationships.
So, because I want to show you the diversity and all different options, Ethan, can you tell us about you have some very specific gifts that you give
Yeah.
out for your buyers versus sellers and meaning behind it?
Yeah. So one of the things that I love to do for my buyers when we close, or at least at closing or after closing, is I always get them a potted plant. And the reason I get them a potted plant, like a live plant, not nothing fake, is because it kind of symbolizes, that they're building roots here in the Bahamas. And so I like to give them that. And every time as they take care of the plant, they kind of think of me. And for my sellers, we're in the islands. And so I always get them a bottle of rum, fine Bahamian rum. And typically, even if they don't drink, they enjoy the gift. But it's something that I like to give them so that they can take a bit of the islands back with them, or put it in their new property. And so those are just two of the things that I like to give, something that's living, that symbolizes the roots they're setting down here in the islands, and then something that they can enjoy that has a bit of island flair and spirit and flavor as they close on the sale.
Jillian, you started out by saying you never know who's watching because everyone's watching, right? And so, Ethan, speaking about watching, tell us about your YouTube channel and people watching this and how you used it to your advantage.
Yeah, so with a media and marketing background, I believe content is king. And when I really started to develop my real estate brand and where I wanted to position myself, I had the idea to launch Bahamas Island Luxury, which is my YouTube channel exclusively dedicated to, all things luxury in the Bahamas, especially real estate. And I was so surprised because less than a week after uploading one of my videos, I get an email in my inbox. And here's this client who said, hey, you know what? We were searching online. Can Americans own real estate in the Bahamas? And your video popped up. And the reason this was a major surprise is because I posted it. My YouTube channel doesn't have 100 subscribers, right? This video alone didn't have 17 views at the time. But the fact that, and it wasn't even up for a week, but the fact that somebody saw it and then reached out was incredible to me. And right now I'm actually looking for something for them at around the $1.5 million mark. And it's all because I was like, I don't care if anybody watches. I think this is a good idea and I'm going to post this video. And it already paid dividends, right? Just from as a lead generator. So that was very, very unexpected because, like I said, people think that you have to have such a big following or a big social media presence or a large number of subscribers. But, that just proved that if you put it out there, they will call you.
Ethan, we wanted to ask you also, you were telling me about your social content and how you use that as your referral generating activity, especially in luxury real estate. So, can you share with us a little more about that?
Yeah, well, like I said before, I believe that content is king, and just putting yourself out there consistently, and that's the biggest thing. you know, being able to position yourself as an expert in the luxury real estate space where it's so crowded here in the Bahamas, you know, the way that I do that is by consistently putting out high quality real estate content. And so that's house tours, but even just sitting down with developers, going back and forth about having them share the developments, you know, what makes it new, what makes it exciting. And then also just kind of sharing my day to day. This is how I move in between. This is what I'm doing today. I even share some meetings when Gavin is not chewing me out. I share some insights onto our meetings, but really I'm just documenting and sharing my journey of becoming a top real estate agent in the Bahamas in the luxury space. And I find that it resonates with people because I'm not out there claiming to be something that I'm not. I'm literally saying, you know what, this is where I want to be. This is where I am now. Join me on this journey to really leave my mark on the real estate industry, not just in the Bahamas, but globally. And so that is something that I love doing. I love sharing my story. And, you know, it's been positive. You know, it's been having an impact on people who are looking for real estate as well as just people here for the entertainment. So as far as ideas for the content, like I said, part of it is really just documenting the journey, right? This is me just going throughout my day. And, you know, I have a very good friend of mine called ChatGPT, and I say, hey, Chat, you know, this is what I want to do. But I'll be honest, I have an amazing team behind me as well. And so we brainstorm ideas. And I just think about where can I add the most value to the market? And literally, that's where I start. So even with some of my video series is literally just informing people of, you know, how they can purchase luxury real estate in the Bahamas by not being a Bahamian. And it's really just giving information and adding value, and content allows me to do that at scale.
Ethan, I wanted to ask you, you know, what is it that you're doing for touch points or something? Also, make sure you mention being the Canadian that I am. Make sure you share about that Canadian point that you shared with me.
Right. So one of the things that I do, because a lot of my clients in real estate are non-Bahamian, so they're either coming from the U.S. or Canada, and so some of the things I automate is really just, of course, birthdays, holidays, and you know, things like Thanksgiving. So the thing is that my Canadian clients, they really appreciate when I tell them Thanksgiving on Canadian Thanksgiving as opposed to American Thanksgiving because they are different. But just things like that, things like birthdays. Funny story, I used to do anniversaries. I don't do anniversaries much anymore because I had a client that I congratulated them, you know, just a touch point on the anniversary. And he told me that, you know, they weren't together anymore. They had actually just separated and were in the process of getting a divorce. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to assume. But, you know, those are things, very easy wins, holidays, New Year's, around the end of year holidays. And throughout the relationship, throughout the course of the relationship, you know the days that are important to them. Not everybody celebrates birthdays, not everybody celebrates the holidays, but everybody celebrates something. And so I just try to automate whatever it is that they actually celebrate. But yeah, definitely my Canadian clients love the fact that I know that Canadian Thanksgiving is different than American Thanksgiving.
Yes, it is. Thank you for knowing that and for recognizing us. You know, we're not appreciated, but I appreciate you for doing that. So we have a couple incredible anecdotes that I wanted to share with you all. Ethan, I'm going to ask you to start first and tell us a little bit about something that you did for a past client that had nothing to do with buying or selling, but actually led to more business for you.
Yeah, so in the full spirit of relationships, I had a client, I had just gotten them a beautiful condo on the beach for a rental, and they wanted to bring their housekeeper in. Now, they pretty much spend 6 months here out of the year, and he just kind of, you know, casually mentioned that, oh, he's trying to get things sorted out through immigration for his housekeeper because she was going to be here for such an extended period of time. He wanted to do it the right way. And if you guys know, like island time is different from regular world time. And so he was getting frustrated. And so I said, you know what? Let me make some calls. I know some people there, being a small island community that we are. And so I was able to kind of not facilitated, but get in contact with the right people to move it through. And even though that had absolutely nothing to do with real estate, it was just something that I know how that is. And so I wanted to help him out. But the thing is, later, after a couple of months went by and she was here, he said, you know what, I think I want to purchase. And so he told me what his budget was, which was about 5 million. And he was like, you know what, I really want to now look for something solid here in the islands to lay down some permanent roots. So that's actually something that I'm doing for him now, as far as looking for this business. But it just goes to show that when you actually approach the business from a place of service and from a place of genuine, I want to help them, and not from a transaction, it really does open doors. And sometimes, from the same client, right? And so that's one of the things that I thought was pretty cool. And that's an example of something that I did that I had absolutely nothing to do with real estate. Being an agent with Corcoran, I think the biggest thing is really the Corcoran agents, right? For me, just the guidance, the advice, the willingness to share, the willingness to collaborate. Like case in point, I was just in Greenwich, Connecticut the other day, and I was there with Jeff from Corcoran Centric Realty, and he was just so willing. He picked us up. He took me and my wife out for lunch, and it was just an incredible time. And so really just the information that I get, the inspiration, the tips and strategies that I get from the other agents that I can employ immediately in my business is really one of the biggest ways that I focus on the maintaining of the relationships. And it's really, those are the relationships that I value a lot from Corcoran. It's just relationships that I've had an opportunity to build with the other agents. And of course, events like Be Corcoran, right? Like just being there with all of those amazing people is really something that I value within Corcoran.